Excelsior, true believers! You are about to embark upon a journey, a trip to the 70s and 80s when mighty Marvel Comics ruled over all. The Defenders, Doctor Strange, the Champions, Deathlock, the Submariner, the Incredible Hulk, Killraven, the Son of Satan, the Macabre Man-Thing, and all your other Bronze Age favorites every week appearing on Defenders Dialogue. Now here are your guides, Christopher Golden and Brian Keene.
Excelsior, true believers.
Excelsior indeed, and welcome back after a long delay to Defenders Dialogue. I'm Brian Keene.
And I'm Christopher Golden. And Brian, I'm thrilled to be back. I mean, you know, it's such a weird thing for people who don't know. Well, I know you're going to talk about it a little bit. We have determined that we really sort of have no other alternative but to, I guess you could call this our final and shortened season of Defenders Dialogue.
Yeah, I think that's a good way of putting it. You know, listeners, you've noticed, of course, that we've been absent for almost 2 months now. You know, and I posted this online, and I'm not going to read the whole thing, but, you know, let's explain to you what's going on, because the hiatus was not by design.
Right.
You know, we're in the midst of many different global situations, and as those rage on, the monthly economy is getting tougher and tougher for everybody, including full-time creators like Chris and myself. So we find ourselves taking on more work and buried in deadlines and obligations. And that stuff always has to come first. As we've said on this show many times, Defenders Dialogue, it's a fun side project that we do. Two friends chatting every week about things that bring us joy. But, you know, the way things stand right now in our lives, we have to put that aside and focus on our loved ones and our readers and, you know, our obligations to our publishers. So Chris had an idea. The original Defenders ended after 152 issues. And what was your idea, Chris?
Well, I felt that at the time we made this, we had this conversation, we had done 140 episodes, and it seemed like serendipitous for us to do a dozen more, so we wrapped at 152 episodes the way that the original Defenders wrapped 152 issues. So we're going to do 12 more individual issues, not in any particular series, 6 that you'll choose, 6 that I'll choose, which will be maybe not our absolute favorites, but certainly exemplary of the things that made us happy from the Bronze Age of Marvel Comics.
Exactly. Stuff that we would have talked about on this show sooner or later had we gone to 500 episodes. But stuff that we definitely want to bring up. You know, we'll be talking about Spider-Woman, Tomb of Dracula, the 1980s Moon Knight, all kinds of cool stuff. Today, we're going to kick off the first of those last 12 episodes with one of Chris's picks. And that is Marvel Team Up issue number 45. So it kind of fits in with what we've been doing recently because we've been focusing on Marvel Team Up, but we're jumping ahead. Issue 45, Spider-Man and Killraven.
Yeah, I mean, it's a fantastic opportunity to talk about a bunch of different things. This period of Marvel Team Up that we would have gotten to it eventually, but this period of Marvel Team Up features Doctor Doom's time platform. So during this run of Marvel Team Up, Spider-Man ends up getting Doctor Doom's time platform, which is basically a rectangular golden flat, platform that if you stand on it, it will carry you through time. It's sort of like it passes up or down depending, and you go through time. And so through these issues, he's jumping through various time periods of the Marvel Universe, and it afforded the creative team the opportunity to give us some really cool time stories, but also team up Spider-Man with characters he would not otherwise have had the opportunity to team up with. That didn't count for the previous issue, which was issue 44, which was Spider-Man and the Vision in the Salem witch trials.
Yep.
Against Cotton Mather and an evil presence called the Dark Rider, which was really cool. And after this issue, though, it gives Spider-Man the opportunity to team up with a character. I know you're going to choose an issue for us to go through of Deathlock the Demolisher.
One of my all-time favorite Marvel characters.
Mine too. And Killraven and Deathlock are the two sort of characters who are they're fantastic characters from the Bronze Age who are outside the sort of regular continuity. Sort of like the Guardians of the Galaxy, the original Guardians of the Galaxy.
Right.
But because they're sort of solo characters and they didn't cross over as much, these stories kind of stand on their own. I almost picked an issue of Amazing Adventures featuring War of the Worlds, which is where Killraven's from, in which Killraven, and you'll remember this, Brian. So Killraven. So why don't you explain to folks what Killraven is? Right.
In Marvel continuity, now longtime listeners will remember this from when we covered Steve Gerber's run on the Defenders. In original Marvel 616 continuity, as of the Bronze Age, in the future, Earth is taken over by corporations like Roxxon, and that's the era of Deathlock the Demolisher. Then Mars invades Earth. That's right. H.G. Wells' War of the Worlds actually happened in Marvel continuity, but it happens in the far-flung future of the 1990s. The tripods show up with the Martians. They conquer Earth, and this lone warrior comes forward named Killraven.
Yeah.
And he puts together a band of revolutionaries, and they fight back against the Martian enslavement. A great storyline. They've all been collected in one volume. Essential Killraven, if you can find it. I don't know if it's in print or not. Who knows with Marvel, but great stuff.
There's also a Marvel Masterworks.
Is there? Okay.
But the problem with the Marvel Masterworks is it doesn't include this issue of Marvel Team Up.
Well, see, there you go.
Yeah.
But yeah, I encourage all of you, particularly our millennial listeners and Gen Z listeners, search it out. It's not as cheesy as a lot of the Bronze Age stuff. And it's notable. It had the first interracial kiss in mainstream comics.
Oh, I didn't know that.
Yes, it did. So it along with Star Trek, it was, pushing us forward, progressing us forward.
I was going to say, let's talk a little bit more about Killraven and War of the Worlds. So interestingly, in the continuity of this, there'd been an earlier Martian invasion that failed. And by the way, the quote unquote Martians in this story, according to the lore of the Marvel universe, are not actually from Mars. There's some other race that basically used Mars as its staging area, if I recall correctly.
Right.
And then in 2001, the second Martian invasion was successful. Jonathan Raven was raised in basically gladiatorial pens run by the Martians for their own amusement. Most of the people on Earth were killed, and the rest were basically slaves. And he was raised in the gladiatorial pens, fighting for their amusement, much like Hulk would do later in the Planet Hulk storyline.
Right.
But he eventually escaped with a bunch of other gladiators, and they formed this group called the Freemen. That was a rebellion against the Martian overlords. The interesting thing about that Amazing Adventures / War of the Worlds / Killraven series is that it's probably the most 70s story Marvel ever did.
Oh, hell yes.
Yeah, I mean, it feels like so much of the like Logan's Run and other things that were from the 70s. It's like it's a combination of them rebelling against the Martian overlords, but also stories about Killraven sort of wandering the Earth like Kwai Chang Kang in Kung Fu.
Yep.
And when there are those wandering episodes, there's a very Mad Max feeling to it. He tends to sort of wander into these really weird scenarios that are very sort of, psychedelic, including my favorite / least favorite. Like, it's both my favorite and least favorite issue of War of the Worlds, which I can't remember the issue number, but it's like 38 or something like that, where he goes into this thing called the Dream Dome. Do you remember this?
I do remember this. Yep.
So basically he finds this, what was once some kind of entertainment thing that's an AI that's sort of like a mini Westworld thing. And you go in and it's like a pavilion of history that's supposed to be there to entertain you, but it's gone mad like Hal in 2001. And once he wanders into it, it's like both entertaining him and trying to kill him at the same time because it doesn't want him to leave. Like, it's an insane AI.
Right.
And it has the pavilion of the 1970s in it. It's so if you want a view, my friends, into 1970s psychedelia, that issue is crazy and great. And it also features an appearance by Iron Man 2020.
That's right. That's right.
So just a thing to throw out there.
Yeah. So yeah, Marvel Team Up 45. I was very happy that you picked this because the issue before this, Marvel Team Up 44, was the first issue of Marvel Team Up I ever read. I remember it so well. It was in 5th grade.
Yep.
A friend of mine had it, and I got done early in history class, and everybody else was still working. And the teacher was like, "Go ahead and read something." So I pulled out Marvel Team Up 44. And the teacher balked. He's like, "Not a comic book. You have to pick a book." And I'm like, "But this is history. It's Cotton Mather and the Salem witch trials." But I always remember at the end, it was, next issue, Killraven. And I'm like, "Oh my God, I got to read that." And of course, my newsstand didn't have it. So I never read this issue until now when you picked it.
Oh, you're kidding?
No, seriously.
Oh, wow. I'm envious because it's like, whenever we talked about this before when reading Man-Thing, because I had never really I'd read a couple of issues, that was it, of Man-Thing. And it was like when I I watched the movie All the Right Moves, starring Tom Cruise, about 2 years ago for the first time ever. Tom Cruise and Leah Thompson. And it was sort of like being transported back to my youth because it was this like pure injection of what it was like to be that age at that time, like not the movie itself, but just like the kinds of movies that you would have seen back then. And so for you, that must have been a similar experience reading this comic.
Very much. It felt like coming home. I mean, Bill Mantlo, one of my favorite writers, Sal Buscema and Mike Esposito, always loved their work. So yeah, and it's fucking Killraven, who I love.
Right.
So
yeah. Well, all right. Well, let's talk about it. So yeah, that was the creative team. We open up with the aftermath of the previous issue. Spidey is just, sitting on some rocks in Salem after all the crazy shit has gone down and staring at the time platform. And he's feeling guilty because he couldn't stop the people from being hanged during the Salem witch trials. But he also knows that it was history and there's not much he could have done about it. Which, again, like, this is such a weird combo of things. It's like Spider-Man unable to save it's like a Quantum Leap or something,
But yeah, he's sitting there taunting Cotton Mather, and let's be honest, as far as historical figures go, Cotton Mather had it coming. But when he gets tired of taunting Cotton Mather, he hops on the time platform and he travels through time. Now, what he's trying to do, folks, is get back to his era of 1970s New York. And so he starts flashing forward through time. The American Revolution, Abraham Lincoln, World War II. Then he sees his New York, but then his New York flashes by, and now he sees a New York in the future that's under attack by Martian tripods. And as they're attacking the city, one of their laser blasts knocks him off the time platform. And he realizes that he has overshot his own time. But where is he?
Well, and let's also pause here again to say this is one of the reasons I picked this issue, is because it's we start with the Salem witch trials and Cotton Mather, and then we're with H.G. Wells' War of the Worlds. Now, anybody listening to this is probably familiar with H.G. Wells' War of the Worlds, but I hope, particularly the younger listeners, have seen the original film adaptation of War of the Worlds, because this is what this is reminiscent of, these tripods. And first of all, it's a great movie. But second, this is, again, one of the reasons why I loved Killraven, and one of the reasons why I particularly love this issue of Marvel Team Up, is like the Salem Witch Trials, Spider-Man, Killraven, and Martian tripods from H.G. Wells' War of the Worlds. It's like, what the hell? And yet, anyway, so we've turned the page, Brian, and we get a fantastic double. I can't even speak. Fantastic double page spread. Go ahead.
Yeah. Oh no, it's stunning. For those of you who listen on YouTube, I am of course going to put it up. Just a stunning double page spread. The tripods are bearing down on Spider-Man, but so is his savior, the long-haired swordsman atop an alien horse, Killraven himself. And he asks Spider-Man, will you stand with me? Help me turn the devils? Will you fight beside Killraven?
Yeah, I love the fact that Killraven, because there is no page space able to be devoted to the usual superheroes fighting one another, Killraven is bearing down on Spider-Man on his serpent horse, and he senses that beneath the costume, Spider-Man is indeed a man and not a Martian mutate. which again, because we don't have time for them to fight each other in this issue. But yeah, this double page spread blows me away. Like, I would love to have this framed on my wall. Killraven is one of my favorite Marvel characters of all time. And again, I get maybe you just have to have been there at the time, but I don't know, man. I want this movie or TV series so badly.
Have I ever told you about my Killraven pitch?
Yes, I believe we have talked about that. I also pitched Killraven.
I feel like most writers at some point pitch Killraven as most writers our age at some point pitch Killraven as one of their dream projects, and Marvel never ever greenlights any of them.
Yeah, I pitched a version, you pitched a version. When Tom Snagosky and I pitched for Guardians of the Galaxy many years ago, we also had a character who was the daughter of Killraven. And that didn't happen either, which is a shame. But in any case, continue.
Yeah, they team up against the tripods. Killraven goes after him with his sword. Spidey figures out that he can shoot his webs, wrap their legs, and trip them up. So he does. He brings one down, and then Killraven smashes through the plexiglass shield, and we find that it's not a Martian inside. It's a human. Who has been enslaved by the Martian overlords.
Yeah, well, or who is cooperating.
Yeah.
I think that this is one of the things that's happened, of course, is that, Brian, flashing back again to our youth, much like so many of the collaborators in the classic film Red Dawn, this guy is collaborating with the invaders. Anyway, Spider-Man webs up his face to stop him, but Killraven is not interested in stopping the guy. Instead, he just cuts him open with his sword.
Yeah. And I was sort of surprised here that Spider-Man doesn't balk at that. He's just like, okay, yeah, let's kill the motherfuckers.
Yeah. Well, I think Spider-Man's like, hey man, this is your world. You're a warrior. You're not, yeah. So yeah, it's great. I was a little bummed that we didn't see one of the actual Martians in this, because they're really fun.
Yeah, I mean, they're just like H.G. Wells describes. They're pink and tentacled and little blob creatures. But anyway, yeah, they continue to make short work of the tripods for several pages. It's an awesome fight. And then when it's over, Killraven says, "I think it's time we became acquainted. I'm Killraven, leader of the Free Men, and I believe you called yourself Spider-Man." And then he goes into his history for a page, and it's the history we've recounted for you.
And you get a glimpse of the members of the Free Men, all great characters, including this guy who's my favorite of his sidekicks. This big bald guy with a handlebar mustache named Old Skull.
Yep.
However he got that nom de plume, I don't know. But in any case, there's also this character we should mention here that we glimpse here for the first time named Volcana Ash, who has some kind of fire powers.
Right.
I don't remember how that came about in War of the Worlds, or in the comic, but
the Martians mutated her.
They
she was
experimented on her.
Yeah. I was never crazy about her name, even as a kid. Volcana Ash just seemed too on the nose, but
I always hated her name, but I liked the character.
Yeah, but she's, in a nutshell, she's Killraven's love interest.
Right. And she also had, in the comics, she also had like this organization that she was in charge of that reminded me a little bit of that TV movie starring John Saxon, which I think was just called Planet Earth, which was about a future in which women had taken over and all the men were enslaved, and they called them dinks. But in any case, I also want to point out, Brian, this philosophical conversation that happens here. Not to get too grim, but we live in a time where there is correctly a lot of pessimism about the future.
Right.
With climate change and with everything else going on in the world. There's a lot of pessimism about where we're going as a planet and as a species. And Spider-Man learns from Killraven that in short order, his world is going to be invaded by Martians and destroyed. So he says, "What are you saying, man? That it's all going to end? That nothing we do matters because in 30 years' time, the Martians are going to grind us all into paste? That me, the people I love, my world, none of it's worth beans? Then what in heaven's name is the point of living, of caring, of anything?" And Killraven says, "You ask questions I can't answer, Spider-Man. Who can say there is an answer? I mourn a lost past, you a shattered future, neither of us really knowing if one relates to the other," meaning we don't know if we're on the same timeline.
Right.
"I only know that nothing is certain, my friend, not past, not future, and if life does have any point at all, it is bound up in the living of it." And I'm just like, wow, in the middle of this issue that's all kinds of fun, we have this philosophical conversation about the point of living.
And it's great. It's 2 panels, but again, the Bronze Age, the 70s, they would pack more into 2 panels than you get in 22 pages these days.
Yeah, I loved it.
Yep, I did too, and I think it rings true for our time.
Yeah, for sure.
Unfortunately, while they're having this conversation, more enemies sneak up behind them and hit them with hallucinogenic gas.
Yeah, and then the page design of the next scene is so cool, but go on.
Yeah, the enemies are like, "We've captured them, and we'll take them back to our overlords." But what happens next is, for several pages, we get basically a split screen effect. On the left, we have Killraven's saga, and on the right, we have Spider-Man saga. And these things are happening simultaneously. And we, the reader, know that they're hallucinating. They do not. Killraven drops onto an amorphous, yielding surface that, to me, subconsciously probably represents the Martian's hides. Spider-Man drops into a giant spider web.
Yeah. Yeah, and then they're each sort of they're stuck, and they're confronted by familiar faces. Killraven sees Volcana Ash, who he says can't possibly be there because she's off with Adam and Eve searching for her sister. That's in Amazing Adventures number 31, I should say. And Spider-Man sees none other than the Green Goblin, who can't be there because Norman Osborn at this point is dead and Harry Osborn is cured. So he can't be there. So they're both in denial about what they're seeing.
That's right. And then the visions really dig into their subconscious. Volcana, starts attacking Killraven, and he says, you can't be her. She would never do that. And she says, well, how do you know that? How much did you ever really find out about me or anyone else? She implying that he's been too focused on his revolution and not on the people around him. I got to tell you, as a 54-year-old reading this for the first time, boy, that struck a chord with me. And Spider-Man, the Goblin is, revealed to be Mary Jane. And she tells him, hasn't everyone you've ever known turned against you at one time or another? Uncle Ben, your parents, Betty, Harry, Norman Osborn, Gwen. And I got to tell you again, as a 54-year-old, that one struck deep.
Wait, Uncle Ben turned against you, Brian?
Well, yeah, sooner or later, everybody turns against me. You will one day, too, Chris.
I think that day is today. That time is now.
Don't do that to me. I can't take it.
You don't realize it, but your kitten Dallas is sneaking up behind you and is about to claw you. No.
Yeah. We should tell listeners. Chris and I are not alone. I've adopted a litter of feral kittens. I'm down to 3. I've been able to find all of them good homes, but one of them I named Dallas after our dear friend, departed friend Jack Ketchum, and Dallas thinks of himself as a writer. He's been sneaking up here behind me throughout the recording.
And pretty soon he's going to start walking back and forth on the keyboard.
Oh, he's done that already.
Create a masterwork.
He's done that already.
In any case, so Killraven hurls his sword at Volcana, and Spider-Man starts beating the crap out of the fake Mary Jane because he knows it can't possibly be Mary Jane. He realizes it's got to be something inside him, his rage. And basically, they both come out of their hallucinatory state to discover that they have, while unconscious, while fighting these hallucinations, defeated the Martian warriors who have been attacking them. Which I love. I love the fact that it's like, yeah, we were not even going to see that fight.
Yeah, I like the way Mantlo handled that as well. So yeah, they beat the enemy in their sleep. And, Killraven is impressed. He says, there's a war going on here. My revolutionary group would welcome you. Right. Spider-Man says, no, I got to get back home, if I can. And, they have one more conversation about the past. And I like this. Killraven says, I get a sense of a past I cannot understand, a time when there was no war. No Martians, a time that does not exist in my memory. And Spider-Man tells him, then make it exist. Keep fighting until you win back everything they've stolen from you, including the past. And then he hops back on Dr. Doom's time platform and travels away.
Yeah. And it says next issue, Deathlock the Demolisher, which is exciting too. I think, those who are more familiar with more recent comics, if you're familiar with Killraven at all, it might be from the pages of the 12-issue, I believe, written by Kurt Busiek series at Marvel, Avengers Forever, in which Killraven was one of the warriors that joined with the sort of time-traveling group of Avengers plucked from various timelines in the Marvel Universe. And that was some years ago. But they're about to launch a new ongoing series called Avengers Forever. And although there are dozens of characters on the cover to the upcoming first issue of Avengers Forever, one of them is Killraven. Another is Deathlock.
Yeah.
So while we probably won't see much of them, I do hold out hopes that we will see them in that story.
Be cool. All right. Next week is my pick, right?
Yes, sir.
I say we go with X-Men God Loves, Man Kills. In my opinion, the single best standalone X-Men story ever written.
All right.
And that is readily available, readers. It's one of the few comics that Marvel does, in fact, keep in print in perpetuity, and rightfully so. So we're going to talk about what a game changer that was for comics as a whole, not only just for the X-Men, but for comics as a whole. And before we go, Chris, as we begin our final 12 episodes, we would be remiss if we didn't give a shout out to our long-suffering engineer, Matt Wilson.
Yes.
Matt is the one that makes us sound good every week. If you want to support the show, the best way to do that is to support Matt. Just go to Amazon.com, type Matt Wilderson in the search bar, and any of his books will pop up. And if you can buy any single one of those, that would be great. But I also want to give a shout out to our former engineer, Dave Thomas. Of course, listeners of the Horror Show with Brian Keene will be very familiar with Dave. Dave also used to engineer this show. He has reached the end of his battle with cancer, and he's in home hospice. It's just a matter of time. Every day is a gift, but you know, he's got funeral expenses to pay for, and you know, final things to pay for, and he's still paying off the chemo and all the other treatments they did to try to beat the cancer. So, you know, he's facing the end of his life and still having to worry about debt. And that sucks. So if you go to GoFundMe and type in Help Dave Thomas, you'll see his GoFundMe pop up. There's actually two of them there. One of them is shut down. The other one is active. You'll be able to determine which one is which. Or you can just check my Twitter feed or the Defenders Dialogue Twitter feed, and we'll have a link up to it there as well. But you know, if you can give them $5 or $10 to help them out, Chris and I would personally appreciate it.
Yeah. I mean, you know, sending all our love to Dave. It's been a tough battle for him. And, you know, I know that we're thinking of him all the time, and I know that would be super helpful. And, you know, I guess what I would say about that, Brian, is that, it's been nice to see, once we announced that we were going to be wrapping up this show, we did get a number of people reaching out to thank us for the memories and the pleasure that we brought them in reminiscing about these things. And so what I would say is the show is free. And if we've ever given you any kind of entertainment value or amusement or pleasure, I would like to join you, Brian, in saying that the way to pay us back is to try to support Dave at this point.
Yeah, absolutely. So I'll post a link directly to the GoFundMe on my Twitter feed and the Defenders Dialogue Twitter feed, and you can find it there. But yeah, we would appreciate that.
Yeah.
So next week, X-Men, God Loves, Man Kills. You've got a week to read it, and then come back here and we'll discuss it. I'm waiting for an Excelsior from Chris. It's been so long, he's forgotten how to close us out.
I haven't forgotten. Then I will just give you a very sober Excelsior, true believers, until next week.
We'll see you then, folks. Bye.
Defenders Dialogue. You can listen to this episode and all previous episodes for free on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, Stitcher, YouTube, Google Play Music, and wherever else podcasts are available. Defenders Dialogue is written and produced by Brian Keene and Christopher Golden. Our theme music is by Xander Harris. Our engineer is Matt Wilderson. Check out his books on Amazon.com.